Box here. So hopefully you see me soon because as you see behind my head, YouTube is down. I don't know when you're going to see this, but when you do, you'll see it. We got new Roquan Smith dropping tomorrow in-game as the limited. And like I tweeted out, I feel like I need linebackers to either jump or safeties to not jump when subbing into linebacker. For me to care about coverage linebackers, go either way with it. I'm not very passionate about how they do it. Just fix them so that way I care about linebackers going forward. I also got to talk about some stats and card balance in this game. Some real nerd stuff about how they kind of treat cards and, you know, individualize them and what I think is better for that. So that'll be after we talk through this card, after we talk through a little bit of linebacker stuff, but let's take a word from our sponsor first. Rock Bottom Coins is the #1 place to get your Madden 21 coins. If you make coins for my videos, sell them to Rock Bottom. If you're buying, use my code GUTBOX for 15% off. All right, so Roquan Smith, in any other year, when the safeties and linebackers are pretty close to each other, and an 89 speed middle linebacker that gets, you know, powered up, like this is like a safety there, and we would have been like just going crazy over him. But sadly, like, I just, you know, he should be great in coverage, but the inability to jump and snag that ball 10 yards behind his head, like a lot of like Taylor Mays and Isaiah Simmons, like those plays that they make every once in a while, if you can really bait a guy and throw in like a post pattern when you're covering a drag, it just like literally sucks the entire energy out of the opponent when that kind of stuff happens. So they're not able to do that. They're not, you know, glitchy like that. So go one way or the other, right? I'm not passionate. Choose it, stick with it, finish off Madden 21 and rethink it for next year. But you got to bring some balance at linebacker position. Middle linebackers coverage size. Pass rush middle linebackers are great, right? Those are all fine. But this one right here, Roquan, he's good, right? He'll be nice, but I'm still going to use MUT Master over him. And MUT Master, I don't use him on my field either. I mean, I guess you could pay for Lurker and waste the AP on it. But let's go to the things I really wanted to talk about today, which is kind of card stat balance. Okay, now, in previous years of Madden, there was this thing about usable content, right? How much usable content did we get? I think this year, we've gotten the most usable content out of any Madden I've seen, right? And by usable, I mean these guys can go in your squad and they can play as well as some of the top cards in the game. Now, how they did this is arguably not the greatest solution, and they've done some good solutions to it, but other ways not. So let's go through that. So I want to talk about the quarterback position first. So we finally have balance to the force, right? Pocket passers, strong arms, field generals are very well balanced against scramblers. I still think scramblers are powerful, but I think everybody's using the pocket passers because it's just more fun to pass in this game versus, you know, for the last 20 years of Madden, we've all just rolled out with Michael Vick and thrown on the run and made plays like that. So we've all switched to pocket passes this year. I still think scramblers are plenty powerful. Maybe lower escape artists on scrambling archetype, improvisers down to like 1 AP for scrambler, 2 for improvisers, leave that. So like, that's fine, okay? But balance, right? And now we have balance for strong arms and we have balance for field generals because strong arms have gunslinger, which is like the best chem in the game for slinging the ball. But field generals have hot route master, which is like the best for designing plays because you can basically have creative play out there with such powerful routes. So like two very powerful things locked behind two different cards. Now, once we get a field general going to 95 overall, that's kind of ruined because they're getting gunslinger. It will be a slightly higher AP, I do believe. But right now, it's really cool because there's some really good balance in the game and there's actually decisions. You see people debating it on the Reddits, on the forums, stuff like that. We're like, should I go with the high route master? Because that's really powerful to get those routes out there. Or should I spend a little bit more AP and put slot apprentice, tight end apprentice all around my offense and go with the gunslinger on a strong arm quarterback? So that's kind of neat, right? That's the kind of sweet balance that we have. A lot of decisions, how you want to play. That is so ideal and so good for the game. I just want to squeeze it, love it, and kiss it hard, okay? Then you have the rest of the cards in the game, right? Not as many choices for abilities that really stand out. There's some very good ones, of course. I've recently switched over to Secure Protectors because Sheds got wild, and they've done a job. But basically, wide receiver is like a couple chems, a couple abilities that are all right. But like, overall, why is there so much usable content, right? Why is Jerry Jeudy very similar to top-end cards in the game? It's because they've done a stat crunch, okay? they basically have taken everybody's speed and taken it within like a couple points of each other. Now with theme team chems, you can basically make it up. So like if you have a Broncos theme team, Jerry Jeudy's as good as DK Metcalf for your theme team. As good as like Terry McLaurin, right? Because Jeudy gets up to 95 speed on it once you max out Sprinter Broncos, whereas Terry McLaurin, I guess stock is 96 speed. So maybe he's still one better. But like, it's a problem, right? When the balance in your game, like the way you're balancing it is basically every card are going to be the same. Now, it's kind of cool because we're getting a whole bunch of different names, but it brings a certain blandness to the game and boringness. Now, getting new cards is fun, and adding to the theme team is fun, and that's a valid way of doing it, right? I personally would love a little bit more individuality, and we'll talk about that going forward. But like, we've seen this stat crunch and the lowering and the shrinking of the differences in our MUT cards over the past basically 5 years, right? So if we go back to older Maddens, right? Like just think Madden 16. I just want to show you a base silver in Madden 16, how insane they truly were. Once I bring up Dre Archer here. Okay, so Dre Archer, 64 overall, launched with 96 speed. Which is true because he was the fastest man in the NFL. And don't talk to me about Perriman because he got timed at his pro day. This was at the combine. He got timed at the. I guess Chris Johnson was in the league, but anyways, he was given his realistic speed. Realistic thing, maybe juke move was too high. I don't know, but he was given realistic stats at the launch of the game, which makes a lot of sense because you want these players playing like themselves on the field. But over the last few years, this game's got a little bit more competitive. They thought, hey, maybe it isn't good to give our lower overall cards such good stats because speed matters so much in the gameplay. So they started to shrink it. So cards that should have 96 speed to launch will now come out with 88. And like guys that aren't as fast will come out with like 85. So like the stat crunch, it's happened. It's real. And it's kind of, I don't know, disappointing, I'd say. Right, the lack of individuality, right? Because this card was awesome because he got hit, he fumbled with 69 carrying, but man, he didn't get hit that often, especially because you're throwing toss near the sideline, so the fumble will just go out of bounds. But like, I like the individuality of the cards, right? I like the way MLB The Show does it, whereas they give you like their cards, like imagine Tony Gwynn, and MLB The Show's gotten some problems with this too, right? They fucked up Babe Ruth, they screwed some other cards, they gave him too much power, but like cards came out, and they come out with like, 50 power. Right? They wouldn't make Tony Gwynn balance against Hornsby or Killebrew by making their power and their stats the same because they were so individualistic. Because they were so different. Now, and with the show site, the Show Nation is down on me as I'm trying to bring up the stats. This is great. I should have gone to another one. I should have gone like the Show Zone or something. But like, that's what I'm trying to say. All right, he just came up. Is like they gave him ridiculous power, over 100. And we all kind of want over 100 stats back. Bring him back, please. And then they gave him like 55, 60 power. Like, if they're like, all right, we got to make a 99 Tony Gwynn in Madden 21, they did give him like 100 power and like 110 contact. Like, all right, great, have fun with Tony Gwynn. It's like, that's not Tony Gwynn though, right? That is not how he played. So like, a big problem is like, Madden also doesn't use the full scale of ratings, right? When you look through all these cards, these stuff all starts off at like, what, 50, 60 is the low that we're going on for a lot of these cards? 60, 50, right? 50 right there. 23 catching, but he's a lineman, so it doesn't matter. So like, a lot of this range of stats really should be lower, right? The cards that start off with the game should be lower. Like Taylor Mays is the biggest thing. Like he's the biggest example of what I want to show in this. There would be no reason to use another card over Taylor Mays because they basically gave him god tier zone coverage, right? They made him basically play zone like Ed Reed when he came out. His zone right now in my squad, 93 zone coverage, 85 man. Taylor Mays was a physical beast. That's what he was known for, man. He was dumb. So like Taylor Mays, he should have came out with his top end speed, top end physical attributes, 6'3", tall, fast, agile, all that stuff. But then he should have had 40 zone. I'm not joking. 40 awareness, right? The problem with Madden is that speed means too much because that's all we look at because every other stat is within a couple points of each other and a couple points don't really mean that much. So spread out the points, please. Make Taylor Mays into Taylor Mays and how he played. You obviously got to juice him a little bit for MUT for one of the cards, but like that's where you juice the physical stats for how he actually played IRL. And it's terrible to see that they keep doing this, right? He should be a high hit power, high speed, physical specimen, not an intelligent guy with 91 pursuit, right? Why would you get somebody over Taylor Mays? He's 91 pursuit. What's a better safety going to show? What's Ed Reed going to show? What's Troy Polamalu going to show? Troy Polamalu was like the definition of instinct, even though he ran, 4.33 and incredible speed too. He's shorter, so you're like, oh, I don't want to use a shorter guy out there because I want to get those crazy lurk picks. But like, how are you going to have Troy P be better than him when like the pursuit's the same? And a lot of your thresholds are at 90 anyways in this game. It makes no sense to me the way they're doing this. It sucks because it doesn't provide individuality. And even when we look back at MLB The Show, when we're looking back at this game and we say, okay, well, sure, they do crunch a little bit of stats sometimes and some career cards, some signature series. Babe Ruth, for example, like I talked about. So Babe Ruth himself. Why is he special? Also, because they have unique animations for everybody's swinging motion too, right? That's something we don't have and really matter. We don't have unique animations. We have unique celebrations, stuff that doesn't matter, shit that bugs us, that takes up our time for making solos. We got that kind of unique animation. Like, why don't we have Odell? Why isn't he the only one with that spec catch, right? Why don't we have unique stuff for each of these cards? James Harrison should have a very unique pass rush that he's pulling off. Is it because you guys don't want to add that many animations in the game? I mean, I don't like that excuse. I don't like that kind of laziness. So there needs to be something else to separate these cards because they're separated by so little. So on the one hand, it does provide a lot of usable content. Everything coming out now, almost everything. I'd say 90% of the cards are definitely usable and really usable on a theme team. The fact that the way they did that was just kind of make everybody the same is kind of like lazy. And it's disappointing, right? Madden 21 is the closest stats we've seen. And the biggest thing also is how they do these stats. Like when you look at MLB The Show, and they do very specific cards for like very specific years, like players' MVP years. They'll have a year they made the All-Star team, a prime, which is prime is 3 years. Signature series are career-based cards. So we're looking at all the 99s, but I just wanted to show a few of them. Like right, there's veteran cards based off specific years. So like how Madden does, for example, flashbacks, right? And Tex and I have been talking about this for years. It's frustrating because like if you get for example, a Cam Newton flashback, he'll have like his base card and then improved +3s on that from that card. I scrolled past flashbacks, right? So you're like, okay, I guess that kind of makes sense, +3s up to his 89 overall. But like that's not really how they play now. Right? Or play then. They were a different card back then. Instead of giving pluses like to upgrade them, they gotta change around their stats. Like Marcus Peters, Mariota. I mean Mariota's a decently mobile quarterback. He hasn't really. I mean he's not like super old, but I'm trying to think of like a veteran that got a flashback card that should be a little bit different on stats. So that's like kind of saying like the cards just shouldn't get +3s. They should be completely different to play how they played in that one year. If that makes sense. So, yeah, I think that will help balance out a little bit of the, why should I use Bobby Wagner and his genius ability? Why should I use those kind of smart linebackers like Levante David when I can just get somebody fast that plays the exact same? We need more rating spread, so that way smart players, there's a reason to get them. And obviously that goes away when everybody starts hitting 99 overall, and even before that for a lot of spots because thresholds get hit, especially route running at 90. So that's my thought on it. Please, going forward, this is probably for next year even, increase the rating, use the entire 100 scale, and then go over 100, right? Blow our backs out at the end of the year, and after the Super Bowl, just go, yeah, no, we're going up to 110, 120, and that's probably all you need. Just go past 100 a little bit. Just to make, really, really blow the top off of MUT. So, that's my thoughts. What do you guys think? Do you guys like that, like, they're going the way, making everybody usable because the stats are all so close? Or do you want more individuality like I want to? Am I just a dreamer? Are they never going to do that? Maybe on next gen. Maybe they can focus on that after the transition. Maybe next year, hopefully. Thanks for watching Call to Action. I'll see you when I see you whenever YouTube comes back up.